It was a sunny Saturday afternoon in late spring, the kind of day that called for laughter, good food, and the company of friends. My husband Mark and I had decided to host a barbecue in our backyard to celebrate the arrival of warmer weather. As we planned the menu, juicy burgers, hot dogs, and a plethora of sides, I could feel a sense of excitement building. Mark picked up the phone to call his best friend Mike. Their friendship was legendary. They had known each other since childhood, and Mike was known for his playful spirit and knack for turning any gathering into a memorable event. As Mark chatted with him, I could hear their laughter through the walls. "Of course you're invited." "We'll fire up the grill at 5, Mark said enthusiastically. I smiled to myself, knowing that Mike's presence would guarantee a fun-filled evening. Chapter 2. The Setup. As the day unfolded, I busied myself with preparations. I laid out picnic blankets, arranged chairs around the patio, and set up a table for food. The aroma of marinated meat filled the air as I prepped the grill. Mark helped, although he was mostly distracted by the prospect of seeing Mike and catching up. Around 4:30, the first guests began to arrive. Our friends Sarah and Jason were among the first, bringing a colourful salad and a bottle of wine. We chatted, reminiscing about past gatherings and laughing about inside jokes. The atmosphere was warm and inviting. When Mike finally arrived, he strolled in with his usual swagger, a cooler full of drinks in hand. "Hope you saved some space for the best part of the barbecue," he declared, grinning from ear to ear. "Tut, just don't burn anything this time," I teased, recalling the last time Mike attempted to grill, which ended in an almost comical disaster. "I can't make any promises," he shot back, his laughter infectious. Chapter 3. The games begin. After everyone had eaten their fill, we decided to play some games to keep the energy up. Mark suggested charades, and the idea was met with enthusiasm. We split into teams. Mark and Mike teamed up against Sarah, Jason, and me. As the first round began, the yard filled with laughter and playful competition. Everyone took turns acting out words while the others guessed. Mike, always the performer, was particularly animated, throwing himself into each charade with reckless abandon. When it was Mike's turn, he drew a word from the hat. "Dance." He immediately started twirling and flailing his arms, giving it his all. The laughter grew louder, and I could see that Mark was getting caught up in the moment, moving around and trying to guess. But then Mike, in true form, decided to add a twist. He quietly crept behind Mark, imitating him while still performing his own dance moves. Mark, completely oblivious, continued his wild gestures, blissfully unaware of the hilarious spectacle happening right behind him. Chapter 4. The Surprise Reveal. The whole yard erupted into laughter as we watched Mike mimic Mark's every move. "Turn around, Mark!" I shouted, unable to contain my giggles. Mark spun around just in time to catch Mike mid-flail. His expression shifted from confusion to sheer amusement. "Did I just get outdanced by my own friend?" he exclaimed, laughing heartily. The entire group cheered for Mike's impromptu performance, and Mark, still chuckling, tried to reclaim his dignity by jumping back into the dance. The competition only escalated from there. Chapter 5. The Relay Race. As the sun began to set, we decided to change things up with a relay race. Mike, always eager for a challenge, suggested we add silly tasks to the race. "Let's make it interesting," he said, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "The losing team has to do a dance-off." We all agreed, excitement buzzing in the air. The race involved balancing a spoon on our noses, hula-hooping, and doing the chicken dance. With each completed task, laughter erupted, and the friendly rivalry intensified. In the end, Mark and Mike emerged victorious, leaving Sarah, Jason, and me to face the dreaded dance-off. Chapter 6. The Dance-Off. We took our place in the centre of the yard, the spotlight on us as everyone gathered around. Mark and Mike cheered us on, reveling in our misfortune. "Show us what you've got," Mike shouted, his encouragement mixed with teasing. Sarah and I decided to embrace the moment. We started dancing, letting loose and having fun while the crowd clapped and laughed. Just as we began to feel the rhythm, Mike couldn't resist the urge to join in. He snuck up behind us, adding his own dance moves to our routine. "Mike, get out of here," I laughed, but he continued, mirroring our every step. It was chaos, but in the best way possible. Chapter 7. A surprise guest. Just when we thought the night couldn't get any more entertaining, my sister Emma arrived, catching us all off guard. "What did I miss?" she asked, a grin spreading across her face as she took in the scene. "Only the most epic dance-off," Mark replied, motioning for her to join us. Emma jumped in without hesitation, her infectious energy adding to the fun. With Mike still dancing behind us, the four of us formed a circle, taking turns showing off our moves while the crowd cheered. Asnat. Chapter 8. The evening winds down. As the night progressed, we gathered around the fire pit to roast marshmallows and share stories. The glow of the flames illuminated our faces, and the atmosphere was filled with warmth and camaraderie. Mike, never one to shy away from a good story, started recounting embarrassing moments from our college days. Each tale had us rolling with laughter, from his failed attempts at impressing girls to the infamous camping trip where he accidentally set off a fire alarm in the middle of the night. When it was Mark's turn to share, he regaled us with the story of how he and Mike once tried to build a treehouse and ended up creating a rather precarious structure that barely stayed standing. "We thought we were carpenters," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. Chapter 9. Reflection and Connection. As I sat there, surrounded by laughter and friendship, I felt a surge of gratitude. Moments like this reminded me of the importance of connection and joy in our lives. I glanced around at the smiling faces of my friends and family, knowing that these evenings would be cherished memories. "Isn't this what life is all about?" I asked, looking at Mark, "surrounded by people we love, laughing and having fun?" He nodded, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. "Absolutely. And with Mike around, it's never a dull moment." Chapter 10. The Aftermath. The next day I woke up feeling the afterglow of the previous night. The kitchen still smelled faintly of smoke and grilled food. Mark stumbled into the kitchen, bleary-eyed but smiling. "Did we really dance like that?" he asked, shaking his head in disbelief. "Yep, you were quite the sight," I replied, laughing. "Maybe I should take some dance lessons," he joked, rubbing the back of his neck. We reminisced about the highlights of the night, and I knew that these moments, filled with laughter and friendship, were what life was truly about. Chapter 11. The Next Gathering. As the weeks passed, we decided to host another gathering, this time a game night. I was excited to see what Mike would bring to the table. He always had a flair for making things more fun, and I couldn't wait to see what antics he had planned. When the night arrived, Mike came equipped with a giant inflatable unicorn and a box of ridiculous party games. "This is going to be epic," he announced, setting the stage for another unforgettable evening. We played various games from trivia to Pictionary. Mike's drawings were especially entertaining. He had a knack for turning simple objects into hilarious caricatures. Chapter 12. More Antics. During one game, Mike decided to take things to the next level. He turned to me with a mischievous grin. "You know what would make this more interesting? A little help from behind." I raised an eyebrow, unsure of what he had in mind. "What do you mean?" He began sneaking up behind Mark as he was focused on drawing, mimicking his every gesture. Mark was completely oblivious, lost in the game. The rest of us erupted into laughter as Mike imitated him with exaggerated movements. "Turn around, buddy," I shouted, and Mark spun around only to find Mike caught mid-move. "Seriously?" Mark exclaimed, shaking his head with laughter. "I can't even focus with you around." Chapter 13. The Dance-Off Returns. As the evening wore on, we decided to revive the dance-off tradition. Mike, naturally, was eager to challenge everyone again. "Let's see who's got the best moves," he shouted, jumping to his feet. This time the stakes were higher. The winner would get to choose the next group outing. Everyone was determined to win, and the competition was fierce. Mark and I teamed up while Mike partnered with Sarah. The energy in the room was electric as we took turns showcasing our best moves, each dance more outrageous than the last. Chapter 14. An Unforgettable Night. The laughter echoed through the night, and soon we were all dancing together, lost in the music and joy of the moment. I looked around, realizing how lucky I was to have such wonderful friends and the spontaneous joy that Mike brought to our lives. As the night wound down, we gathered for one last round of marshmallows. Sitting around the fire, I felt a sense of peace and contentment wash over me. "Here's to friendship and the unforgettable memories we create," I toasted, raising my glass. Everyone echoed my sentiment, and we clinked glasses, celebrating the bonds that held us together. Chapter 15. The Unexpected Twist. The following week, we received an unexpected invitation. Mike had decided to throw a surprise party for Mark's birthday. He had been planning it for weeks and wanted it to be a grand event filled with laughter and joy. "Just you wait," Mike said, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "I have some surprises up my sleeve." I couldn't help but smile at the thought of the chaos that would ensue. I knew that with Mike in charge, it would be a night to remember. Chapter 16. Planning the Surprise. As we coordinated details, I was excited yet nervous about the surprise. Mike had planned for a larger gathering, inviting friends from college, family members, and even some of Mark's childhood friends. We settled on a theme, a retro game night, complete with vintage arcade games and classic board games. I helped Mike with the decorations, while he insisted on adding his signature touch of humor: inflatable toys, silly hats, and, of course, the unicorn made a comeback. Chapter 17. The Big Night. The night of the surprise party arrived, and the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. I could barely contain my excitement as guests started to trickle in, all hiding quietly in the backyard. Mark had no idea what was coming. I had suggested we go for a casual dinner, hoping to keep him unsuspecting. "Just a quiet night, I promise," I said, trying to suppress my laughter. When we finally arrived home, Mark looked puzzled at the sight of cars lining the street. "What's going on?" he asked, confusion etched on his face. "Just a little gathering," I replied, opening the door to our backyard. The moment he stepped inside, everyone jumped out shouting, "Surprise!" Chapter 18. The Celebration. Mark's face lit up with joy and disbelief. "You've got to be kidding me," he exclaimed, taking in the scene. Laughter, music, and the smell of food filled the air. Mike was at the forefront, donning a ridiculous party hat and a giant grin. "Happy birthday, buddy," he shouted, pulling Mark into a bear hug. As the evening unfolded, we played games, reminisced, and shared stories. The atmosphere was lively, and I felt a sense of warmth as I watched my husband enjoy himself surrounded by friends and family. Chapter 19. The Game of Life. One of the highlights of the night was a game of life, the classic board game that brought back memories from childhood. Mike, of course, took it to another level, adding his own twists and making the rules even sillier. "Let's add a rule. If you land on a pink space, you have to dance," he declared, and the laughter erupted. As we played, Mike's antics continued. He sneaked behind players, mimicking their reactions, and even joined in on the game while pretending to be a character. Mark's laughter echoed as Mike's outrageous behavior kept us all entertained. Chapter 20. A Moment of Reflection. As the night wore on and the cake was served, I took a moment to step back and reflect on how much these gatherings meant to us. It was heartwarming to see the bonds of friendship deepening, filled with laughter and shared experiences. Looking around, I saw Mark chatting with friends, Mike performing some ridiculous dance moves in the corner, and everyone laughing together. It was a scene I wouldn't trade for anything. Chapter 21. The Dance Party. As the party reached its peak, we transitioned into a full-blown dance party. The music blared and everyone let loose, dancing like nobody was watching. Mark, usually reserved, surprised me by joining in with wild enthusiasm. I watched as Mike snuck up behind Mark again, pulling off his classic mimicry. "Come on, show us your moves," Mike shouted, and Mark laughed, trying to keep up with the rhythm. The dance floor was a whirlwind of energy, with everyone joining in the fun. I couldn't help but smile at how much joy Mike brought into our lives. Chapter 22. The After Party. As the night drew to a close, we gathered around the fire pit once more, this time to reflect on the evening. Mark was beaming, grateful for the surprise and the effort everyone had put in. "I can't believe you all did this for me," he said, looking around at his friends. "This has been the best birthday ever." Mike raised his drink, ready for another toast. "Here's to many more adventures, surprises, and a little help from behind." Everyone cheered, clinking glasses as the warmth of friendship enveloped us. Chapter 23. Looking Forward. In the days that followed, the memories of the surprise party lingered. Mark and I often reminisced about the fun, and we both agreed that we wanted to continue these gatherings. With Mike around, every moment was an opportunity for laughter and connection. We planned a series of events, from themed game nights to casual barbecues, each time ensuring that Mike's playful spirit would shine through. Chapter 24. A New Tradition. Before long, our gatherings became a regular tradition, with Mike at the helm of many of the events. Each time he added his own brand of humour, keeping everyone entertained. Whether it was a silly costume party or an outdoor movie night, our friends rallied together, creating a vibrant tapestry of memories. Chapter 25. Reflections on Friendship. As we approached the end of the summer, I found myself reflecting on how much our lives had changed. The laughter and connections we had forged brought a new light into our lives. Mike's ability to inject joy into the simplest moments reminded us all of the importance of friendship. So, one evening, as we gathered for a backyard movie night, I looked around at everyone's smiling faces. "Thank you all for being a part of this," I said, raising my glass. "Here's to friendship and the beautiful moments we create together." Chapter 26. Embracing the Unexpected. As the seasons changed and we moved into fall, our gatherings took on a new flavour. We celebrated Halloween with costumes, complete with a spooky scavenger hunt led by Mike. "I'll be the ghost that haunts you from behind," he declared, his eyes twinkling with mischief. The night was filled with laughter, and I realised how much I cherished these moments. Chapter 27. The Holidays. With the holiday season approaching, we decided to host a festive gathering. Mike suggested a secret Santa gift exchange, which sparked excitement among our friends. "Let's make it interesting," he said. "Each gift has to come with a funny story." The planning began, and everyone put thought into their gifts, eager to share the laughter that came with each story. Chapter 28. A Night to Remember. The night of the holiday gathering arrived, and the atmosphere was filled with warmth and cheer. The twinkling lights set the mood as we gathered around the tree, ready for the gift exchange. One by one, we opened presents, each accompanied by laughter and stories that made the evening unforgettable. Mike's gift was a ridiculously oversized novelty sweater, complete with blinking lights. "You have to wear this at the next gathering," he declared. and everyone erupted into laughter. Chapter 29. The Lasting Impact. As we moved into the new year, I took a moment to reflect on how much our friendships had blossomed. The joy and connection we shared had created lasting memories, and I was grateful for every moment. Mark and I often discussed how important it was to nurture these relationships. With Mike's help, we had turned simple gatherings into extraordinary celebrations of life, laughter, and love. Chapter 30. Embracing the Future. As spring approached again, we began planning our next barbecue. Mike was already brainstorming ideas for games and activities, his excitement contagious. "Let's make it the best one yet," he said, his enthusiasm igniting a spark in all of us. I knew that with Mike leading the charge, the day would be filled with laughter and fun. Chapter 31. Conclusion. Looking back, I realized how much a little help from behind had transformed our lives. Mike's playful spirit and love for laughter had brought us all closer together, creating bonds that would last a lifetime. In the grand tapestry of life, it's the moments of joy, connection, and friendship that truly matter. As we prepared for the next gathering, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the people who filled our lives with laughter. With every barbecue, game night, and spontaneous adventure, we were creating memories that would be cherished forever, and I knew, without a doubt, that with friends like Mike by our side, the future was bright.